Today we're looking at ancient Greek philosophers. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer World History. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com where you'll find more resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. Human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge, as quoted by the famed Greek philosopher Plato. Plato was one of many ancient Greek philosophers that sought to have a deeper understanding of human nature and the world around them. Along with their art and architecture, the ancient Greeks became known for their philosophy and pursuit of knowledge. Actually, the term philosophy is based on the Greek word philosophia, which means the love of knowledge and wisdom. A philosopher is someone that forms ideas and theories about the world around us, the nature of man, and the difference between right and wrong. The ancient Greek civilization had developed to such an advanced point that ancient Greeks could devote themselves to study and developing these ideas. These ideas established by the ancient Greeks would have a huge impact on the growth of Western civilization. The development of Greek philosophy is broken down into three different eras. The Pre-Socratic Era, starting in the 6th century BC and extending through the 5th century BC, the Socratic Era, lasting roughly between 499 BC to 323 BC, and lastly the Post-Socratic Era, between 323 BC to about 30 BC. The term Socratic is based on the Greek philosopher Socrates, who lived from approximately 470 BC to 399 BC. The study of philosophy before, during, and after his life marked major changes in Greek thought. During the Pre-Socratic Era, Greek philosophers focused primarily on the natural world and especially focused on the question of where did life begin. The Greeks' polytheistic religion, or in other words, a belief in many different gods, did not give an answer to this question, so philosophers began to develop their own ideas. Thales of Miletus was a leading philosopher during this time that gave rise to the idea that life originated in the seas. Philosopher Democritus explored the idea that all things were made up of tiny particles years before the technology of microscopes or the discovery of the cell. Also during this era, Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras promoted the idea that the only truth was in numbers. Pythagoras developed many mathematical theories, including, of course, the Pythagorean theorem, which still to this day is taught and used extensively. The Socratic era of Greek philosophy is arguably the most well-known, as it occurred during the golden age of ancient Greece, and some of the most famous philosophers in history were active during this time. Instead of focusing on the origins of life, philosophers during this time were concerned with issues of morality and ethics, or the difference between right and wrong. Socrates dominated the early part of this era as he stressed the importance of questioning and critical thinking. Rather than just lecturing his students, Socrates continually asked difficult questions. One of Socrates' students, Plato, then carried on his work. Plato did not focus as much on questioning, but rather on the issue of government. Plato explored the idea of government and questioned what government is best. Plato's student Aristotle then carried on the legacy of great philosophers of the age. Aristotle's focus was on the physical world, extensively studying physics, astronomy, and biology. He would use questioning and observation to establish scientific methods that are still in use today. The Post-Socratic Era, or the Hellenistic era, concentrated not on morality and ethics, but rather on the question of what makes for a good life, or what makes you happy. Philosophers of this age were concerned more about the individual rather than the society as a whole. Four main schools of philosophy, or in other words, primary theories that were popular, emerged during the time. Cynicism argued that to be happy, you had to experience as much pleasure as possible, while Epicureanism stressed that life was not about pleasure, but instead finding ways to minimize or reduce pain in your life. Stoicism argued that in life there are certain things you simply cannot change, so the key to happiness was to learn to be content. Lastly, those that believed in skepticism argued that there is no truth and that there are no answers to any of these questions. Over 2,000 years later, the philosophies of the ancient Greeks are still taught and used in the areas of science, mathematics, engineering, ethics, and government, just to name a few. Greek ideas and philosophy would go on to shape the basic thought and ideas of civilizations throughout the ages. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.